North Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne of the 24th District. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hey, it's good to be with you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So I do want to talk about the job fair that you and your
Yes.
office are organizing, but first let's dive into presidential politics if we can.
Sure.
I'm wondering your thoughts now that the Democrats are energizing behind the presumptive nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris. How much more difficult will that make it for former President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance in November?
Look, she's still going to have to run on her record, not only her record as VP, but also her record before VP. She was deemed as the most liberal member in the Senate, beating out Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I mean, what really affects me and what I think, our viewers are going to want to listen to is what she's doing in Texas. She has been named the border czar, like it or not. They're trying to rewrite history now, but back in March of 2021, Biden put her in charge of what was happening at our border. And we have seen over, 10 to 14 million people enter our country illegally. 60% of them coming through Texas. We've seen it in our communities. You've seen the increase in fentanyl deaths. Where it was her responsibility to do it, her policies did the exact opposite. They made the problem even worse. But specifically in Texas, not only do you have what's going on at the border, but then you also have her own words that she wants to get rid of the oil and gas industry. In Texas, that's millions of jobs directly and indirectly linked to the oil and gas industry. And as a result of their policies toward American energy producers, we've seen skyrocketing inflation, skyrocketing interest rates, and it's only helped adversarial nations like China. But we need to get back to being energy independent to be able to look at and have our permitting permits for that industry allowed by the federal government to get the regulatory burdens off of them so that we can go back to having gas that people can afford. People can be able to afford to turn on air conditioning in the summertime and heat in the winter. And get back to lower, lowering the number on the inflation rates. This has been hardest on working families, but she will cripple our state. She's already said it with her policies, and I have no doubt to disagree with her. And then you look at what she was doing in California, with defund the police efforts and letting criminals out. I mean, this is the VP. I'm sure Democrats may be excited to get behind her because they've been, carrying along on, basically a carcass for the last 3 years. But it's maybe the top of the ticket. The name has changed, but the policies are the same.
So what you seem to be saying, and I've heard this from other Republicans, is focus on the policies, not the personalities. And yet we don't often hear that. We still hear a lot of personality-driven comments from former President Trump and his vice presidential nominee, Senator Vance.
I have said forever. I mean, concentrate on the policy since the time that I was a local elected official, when I was on city council, when I was mayor, on from the time that I became a congressional person. I think it's important. You look at the policies, and for people who may not like President Trump's personality, you look at the policies. You look at his economic policies that led to some of the highest growth our country has ever had. You look at his policies regarding the border, which led to some of the lowest illegal immigration that we've ever had. You look at his success in foreign policy, which brought us some of the most peaceful times that this country has ever had. You look at the policy and the successes or the failures. And if you're looking at the Trump 4 years in office versus the Biden Harris administration 4 years in office, it's day and night difference. But specifically for Texas, it would cripple us if we see another Harris administration.
And but there's also the criticism from former President Trump and from Senator Vance as far as personality attacks on the vice president. So what do you say about that?
I'm concentrating on her policies. And I've seen her policies firsthand. And as a result, I'm going to be supporting President Trump. I've seen his policies. I've seen what he's been able to achieve. And I've seen the failures of Vice President Harris.
And I wanted to ask you, as far as the House is concerned, do you think that it will stay majority Republican? Do you think you will add seats? And do you see Speaker Johnson, if the Republicans do retain the majority, staying in power as well?
Well, I think, look, we don't know what's going to happen between now and November. I think if the election were held tomorrow, I think definitely Republicans would win. I mean, you think about what's happening in our economy. You think about what's happening in, at our border. You look at what's happening overseas. I mean, we need to have a manufacturing renaissance. We need to have an economic jolt to our economy. But what you've seen under this administration is attacks and attacks on regulatory businesses. Look, I'm on the Small Business Committee. We've seen the Biden-Harris administration add an additional $1.3 trillion worth of regulatory burdens on our businesses. It's unsustainable. So what do I think is going to happen? I think in November, you're going to see that working families, people who may always have voted Democrat, are going to look at what's happening in their pockets. They're going to look at what's happening in their communities. They're going to look at what's happening in their schools. And they're going to say, we cannot afford another 4 years of Democrat rule. And if that happens, I strongly believe that you're going to see the House maintaining its majority and healthier majority. And I think you're going to see Republicans actually have a majority in the Senate. Now, I think Mike Johnson has had a rough haul. We've got a very narrow majority. I think he has earned the trust, the respect of the entire conference. It's been very difficult in this case, but he gives everybody a fair chance, a fair voice. He gives everybody an opportunity to actually have their say and be at the table. And I think he has handled this pressure better than anybody that I can imagine. So do I think he'll be reelected if we maintain the majority in the House? Absolutely.
So let's talk about the job fair. It's
Yeah.
growing, continues to grow. So talk to
Yeah.
me a little bit about how it's been growing, the businesses that are going to be there, and the kinds of jobs that they are looking for.
Look, we started this out post-pandemic, just a couple of weeks after Texas originally had ended its extended unemployment, thinking that what we had heard from individuals, what they were looking for jobs, they were looking for better benefits, they were looking for increased pay and flexibility, and then we were listening to all of these businesses saying we're trying to hire people. So we originally did this post-pandemic and was expecting to have just a few hundred people come. We had 6,000 people come. We are strongly supportive of opportunities that we're allowing business folks and just working families to get connected. And that should not be a partisan effort. And what we found was we invited all of our mayors, we invited all of our state reps and senators, we invited all of our chambers, regardless of political affiliation, come join us and help advertise this, get this out to the business community, get this out to individuals who may be looking. And last year, we went from 6,000 people to 16,000 people. We actually ran out of parking spaces because we did it at the Irving Convention Center. It was a great place to have it. But this year, as a result of how fast it has grown, we're going to have it at Globe Life Field. We're not running out of parking, and anybody who wants to come, parking is free. The event is completely free. We have already blown the roof out of the number of businesses that are participating. We've got over 500 businesses that are participating. In every industry that you can imagine, technology, healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, you name it, we've got it. And unlike most job fairs, the thousands and thousands of jobs that they have available that they're going to be hiring for, almost a third actually are six-figure above positions. So this is not just for entry-level positions. These are from positions from entry level all the way to the executive suite. So it's going to be on August 8th. From 11 to 3 p.m. And we encourage people to get there early. Want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be fresh when they get there. Wear comfortable shoes, but be ready to be interviewed. Bring multiple resumes to be able to hand out. And in addition to just having over 500 businesses there that are hiring, we also have some other fun stuff that we've done in the past. We're going to have backpacks filled with school supplies for needy families. So come, because as soon as they run out, we're not, obviously not handing them out anymore. It's first come, first serve. And last year, I think we ran out after about 30 minutes. So get there early and do that. In addition, we're also going to have a separate area for our veterans. So companies that are hiring veterans and companies that offer services and support for our veterans, we're going to have a completely separate area just for them to make sure that we are doing our best to help them in this trying economic time. So it's August 8th from 11 to 3, and it's at Globe Life Field. And we are so excited to have so many people come.
And as far as these jobs are concerned,
Yeah.
are they based in North Texas?
The majority of them are, but these are from companies. These are large companies that are hiring as well as small and mid-size. So some of them may be consulting jobs. Some of them may be available by Zoom. But yeah, the majority of them are the companies that we have reached out to are based in North Texas.
And what has the impact been of past job fairs?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look back at how many
Yeah.
positions there were open that the businesses were looking to fill versus how many positions they did fill. What can you tell me about that?
I'll tell you, the response that we have gotten from people who have attended the job fair and gotten jobs, and the response that we've got from businesses who have interviewed and hired is tremendous. It's a lot of work to put this on. You've got thousands and thousands of people who come. The logistics are time consuming, as you can imagine. We're doing this at no cost. None of the businesses, none of the cities pay, or any of the people who come to look for jobs are paying anything. We are completely working on this. If it wasn't as much of a success, we wouldn't continue to do it year after year. But what we hear from the community, what we hear from our constituents and the businesses, is that this is the most phenomenal job fair that they've gone to. It's most productive. And some of them actually have stopped doing their own job fairs because they want to do ours. So the feedback that we have gotten from the community is tremendous. And we've got lots of businesses who are willing to talk to you firsthand about it. I walk through the floor and I talk to everybody, as many people as I can. I get through the entire center and make sure that the businesses, I'm talking to them, I'm asking them. And man, you have people who are being hired on the spot. Our first year that we did this, there was a gentleman in his 30s and he had his son along with him, a very young son, and his wife had just passed. And he had worked for a family business, and the family business during COVID had to ramp down. And as a result, he lost his job. And he was desperate to be able to supply and sustain for his son, his home and a normal life. And we were able to get him a job that day just by taking him around and introducing him to some of these businesses. And we get frustrated up in DC. I know I get frustrated. I feel like I'm pounding my head against a wall some days. And, we hear from other people that we're not doing as much as we should be doing in DC. But I think that's why it's really important that we have these successes in the district, that we're working outside of DC politics, coming home, listening to the businesses what they want, listening to the constituents what they need, and being able to put together programs like this that legitimately help people that day. So it has been a huge success in the past. It's something that we're going to continue as long as people tell us that they appreciate it and that they're getting something out of it, and we actually feel like we're doing something.
Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne from the 24th District here in North Texas. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You take care.
You too.